Hey, how are you doing? My name's Andrew Herndon, and this is my channel, Change Your Model. This channel is in service of a book I wrote called You Are Not the Model. It's kind of a special passion project that I've created. Recently, I've gone through a lot of life changes. Middle age, changing jobs, changing all sorts of parts of my relationship, watching a child grow up, being married, all of these things. Not always easy. In addition to that, I've spent the last few years working in the AI space. I saw transformer models come into being. I was there for the ChatGPT moment. I'm here now, working in enterprise, solving problems with AI. And I just want to say that I've used that knowledge to retrain myself, and I want to help you do the same. So this channel, Change Your Model, this idea that you are not the model, comes from a lot of places. Comes from the way I think about language models, the way I've learned cognitive behavioral therapy, the way I've learned things from the manifesting community, the way I've learned to be a better person to the best of my ability, which is not to say I'm perfect. It's only to say that I'm becoming something greater as I continue to try. There's no easy answer. There's nothing that says, I'm perfect. There's only trial and error and continuing to try. So if you want an easy answer, I'm not your guy. If you want an answer that says, how can I train myself to be better? I'm your guy. I'm here to help you. So let's think about this. At this point, most people have used a language model, right? You've gone into ChatGPT, you've put stuff in there, you've taken stuff out. How do they work? What do they do? They're trained on basically all of human knowledge, right? Most of the internet, the good and the bad. So they have a lot of built-in flaws, just like we do, right? When you put an input in, the model takes it, disassembles it, compares it to its training data, reassembles it, and gives you an output. Honestly, humans work a lot like that. When we train models, we build them, right? So we get them to compare all of this data, all of this inputs, and then the model itself kind of builds its own weighting system, right? It compares them, looks at the frequency, looks at how much this means that, and that means that, and that means that, gives them weight, right? So then your output has a little bit more heft. It's more closer to what a human might think, right, when it's comparing to it. Then we, the model trainers, or the people that are, I'm not a model trainer, but the people that do train the models, they do something called reinforcement learning through human feedback, right? So they say, here's examples of good inputs. Here's examples of good outputs. Let's lean more this direction. So they feed the model consistent data to try to help train it for whatever reasoning they do, right? We can do all of this to ourselves. We don't need to think of ChatGPT or something like that to be this external factor to help us. Instead, we need to consider that our entire life is our training data. Before we even had language, before we even had words, we were born, we were something, okay? And many communities, people call this awareness, other things, but we are an entity, right? And through life, through experiencing, through seeing cause and effect, we've become something else, right? So it's not just that we were born, it's not this nature and nurture question, right? It's really this deeper understanding that everything in our existence is trained somehow, right? And sure, there is biology afoot. Don't get me wrong, right? We are biological. We have energy running through us. You can get into the Eastern philosophy, you can get into the Qi, you can get into all that. You can get into all these different forms of consciousness that people study and think about. Sure, I applaud all of it. I applaud the way of thinking about ourselves, right? But the most thing I want you to understand is that you are not your model. Okay? So this model that's running, that's interpreting the world around you, that's perceiving what's going on, it's trainable, just like AI models, right? So what I've done is I've taken what I understand about AI models, what I understand about how we interact with the world, what I understand from a lot of different philosophical areas, Jung, all of them, and I've kind of put it together into a manual for self-help, reframed as training your inner model, right? Because it's important. If we only accept the training that we get from the world, if we only accept the story that we tell ourselves, that we've been telling ourselves, then we're never going to change in an intentional way. So when I teach people in my enterprise, when I teach people outside of my scope how to use AI, the number one thing that I tell people is you have to be intentional. If you're not being intentional, if you don't specifically state what you want and how you want it, you won't get a satisfying result. The same is true for your life, right? So that's why I like the manifesting community. I think it's so great. It's teaching you how to tell the universe what you want. The only problem is most of those people are flawed deeply, and they haven't figured out how to fix themselves. And so if you come from a place where you're broken, where you're not full, where you're not whole, and then you try to manifest or something like that, you probably might get something you want. If you really believe, I do believe that you're capable of doing this. And we'll get into that side of the world later, right? I'm just talking about you being you. The first thing you have to do is fix yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It just means that you have to understand the stories you've been telling yourself. You have to understand the training data that exists within you. You have to understand what you keep telling yourself, what that means, and whether that's good or bad, right? And everything is a mixed bag. So you always have to understand, what does this really mean? And in that moment, what am I telling myself? So that your output, your lived reality, matches your training data. Because most of us grow far beyond our training data, but we're still trying to fit into this world that's been trained by something else, by factors outside of ourselves, rather than being intentional about what we want, about what we need, about what our current reality should look like. And when there's a mismatch there, much of the time we feel broken. We feel that something's wrong. So fixing that, understanding where that mismatch is, understanding where you want to be, understanding who you want to be and how you want to be, that's the journey that we're on together. That's what this channel is about. Change your model, right? So my slogan is, change your inputs, change your outputs, change your life. It's that simple, only it's not. You got to do the work. You got to tell yourself. You've got to be consistent. You've got to love yourself. Okay?